Hey guys, what's up? It's Brian from Aspire Fitness, and I want to take a quick second to film this video for you. A lot of people were asking at home when we asked our members what kind of videos they would like to see, and the number one thing that came up was some stretching or some mobility drills to work on. So rather than going all over all the drills that we do at once, we're just going to kind of pick one at a time and work through all the progressions there. So one of the most common ones that we see with new members or people that are coming to us because they might have had an injury in other fitness programs before is stiffness in the front of your hip or your hip flexors. So if you have tight hip flexors, it makes it very hard to use your glutes in certain exercises like kettlebell swings or deadlifts or getting full hip extension when you're sprinting or running. And that can lead to a host of different problems. It's no coincidence that those are the exercises that tend to cause people a lot of trouble as far as tweaking their hamstring when they're sprinting or tweaking their back when they're doing a deadlift or kettlebell swings. So what we hope to do today is kind of show you some strategies that can help loosen up the front of that hip and get that moving a little bit better so that you have a better chance of performing these exercises safely. Alright guys, so one of the first things that we want to do is go over the foam rolling for the hip flexors, okay? A lot of times when people first come in and we're watching them foam roll, they do a great job at getting down around their knee and hitting their quads, but we're not really getting up at top level of this hip flexor where we want to, okay? So I want you to think about trying to get as high up on your thigh as you can, the meatiest part that you can find, and get as high up and close to that bone as we can, but we don't really want to be rolling over the bone, okay? So I have Sean here who's going to help demo that as I kind of describe as we go through it. So Sean's going to go ahead and get started, all right? If you're going to roll on your left side, the easiest way to do that is to slide the roller all the way over to the left so that you can have all the other space for the rest of your body, okay? So you're going to start by placing the roller right at the top of your leg, okay? And then you can support your body however you're comfortable, and you want to put as much pressure on there as you can comfortably to where you feel like you can still take a normal breath. It shouldn't be so excruciatingly painful that you can't move or you can't breathe, but it should be slightly uncomfortable, okay? When you find a spot that's a little bit sensitive, you'll notice that Sean's not taking huge, wide sweeps or range of motion with the roller back and forth. If you ever went and got a massage, they never take their hands and move them as fast as they can over your body. It's usually a push, a hold, and a slow kind of sweep that they go with. So that's kind of what we're going after with the foam roller. So you just want to find a spot up towards the top of the hip that's a little bit more sensitive than others, hang out there and take small kind of movements over top of there. The only other spot that we want to focus on is start to move to the outside part of your hip. So all you're going to do is roll away from the roller. So now the roller is positioned a little bit towards the outside of your hip. It doesn't have to be down on your IT band, just high enough that it's still on the outside part of your hip above your glute, all right? So start there. Again, nothing too aggressive, as much pressure as you can put comfortably where you still feel like you can take a complete deep breath. All right, guys, so after we've done the foam rolling to loosen up that area, the next thing we're gonna do is go into a stretch for the hip flexor. So this is a very common stretch, but it's also one that most people do absolutely wrong, all right? So we wanna go through this step by step to make sure that we're getting the most benefit out of it, okay? So first off, when we're looking at Sean doing this stretch here, okay, this is the point that I want to see moving forward in the stretch, okay? We want to set up in this half kneeling position as much as vertical line as we can get from his back thigh here. His foot's tucked under behind him. For you guys that are really tight, this tendency is going to be to move this foot all the way in, but you want to give yourself a measure and make sure that we're perfectly lined up, all right? So, from that position, you're going to tuck your back toe under. I want you to imagine getting as tall as you possibly can, and then squeezing your butt on this side and pushing your hip forward to pick up the stretch in that left hip. All right? If you notice, Sean's not going through a wild range of motion. He's not leaning back. A lot of times, so go ahead and do one wrong, Sean. So a lot of times you see people do this and you're like, oh man, you know, it's not so tight and very flexible, but really they're just giving up the range of motion that they don't have for their hip and making up for it at their back. So that's one thing that we don't want to do. So if we're going to squeeze your glutes in the top of a swing, or we're going to squeeze your glutes at the top of a deadlift, and we run into that restriction at the hip, the easiest spot to make up for that is going to be your low back. So again, the coaching cues I want you to think of: string, pulling your head up to the top of the ceiling as tall as you can. Glute is tight here, and I'm just trying to push my hip forward. So again, Sean's gonna do that, push straight forward from there, okay? The only place you should feel that is you should pick up a good stretch right through the front of that hip. All right, guys, this next stretch is gonna take the one that we just worked on and take it up a little bit. This is one that you can do at home on your couch. We're gonna use the bench to simulate that for you. There's one muscle in particular that crosses your knee and your hip, which can cause a lot of problems. So this is a good stretch to kind of hit both of those at the same time. So Sean's going to go ahead and set up here. So what you're going to do is you're going to put one foot up on the back end of your couch, or if you have a bench or whatever, okay? Toe is tucked flat, all right? So on this stretch, I don't want the heel underneath, all right? The toe underneath rather, all right? I want that flat. So again, the cues stay the same. What I don't want, some of you are going to be super tight in this stretch, and your tendency is going to want to go here and try to push through it. I don't want you to do that. So I want you to bring your rib cage down tight. Again, glutes are on the side that's being stretched, and you're just trying to push the front part of your hip forward towards your heel. So your goal is not to get your butt to touch your heel. The goal is to keep your foot in this position and to just push that hip forward. So Sean's going to go ahead and demonstrate 5 of these. So you're going to squeeze your glute on that side and push straight forward. So you can see it's not a huge range of motion. It's not this wild excursion. If we're doing it right and we're keeping the core locked down and pushing forward, it should only be another few degrees. So give this one a shot. If you need to make it easier, you can slide your knee out further, which isn't always easy to do if you don't have a lot of length to go, but on your couch you'll have a little bit more room, and then you can progress into moving straight back, okay? So the last thing that we want to work on is teaching the muscles now how to use that new range of motion that we just acquired. Okay, so we did some of the soft tissue work, we did some of our mobility drills, and now we want to make sure that we know how to actively move through that range of motion rather than forcefully pushing through it, okay? So the simplest drill that you can do at home is just a hip extension from your elbows and your knees. So Sean's going to set up on his elbows and knees here. I'm going to get out of the way. All right. So the reason we're setting up on your elbows as opposed to up on your hands is that it's much less likely that you're going to cheat from your lower back in this position. Again, guys, remember, we're not doing this exercise for strength or for hypertrophy to get bigger muscles here. We're really just teaching the hip how to now move through that active range of motion, okay? So what Sean's going to do is we're going to keep a normal curve in the lower back, and it should stay that way the entire time. So what I want you to imagine is that you had paint on the bottom of your foot. You're going to try to keep your knee bent and put your footprint right up to the ceiling, okay? So if you notice, this stays nice and still, and Sean's just lifting his heel up to the ceiling until his hip gets just about neutral with the rest of his body. So Sean, I want you to do a couple bad ones, okay, where you really overarch here. So this is what you might see a lot of people doing in the gym that are trying to target their glutes, and this is why we might experience back pain if we don't have the right mechanics coming from this hip. So again, we want the low back to stay nice and still, and you're just thinking about trying to get your footprint to the ceiling. As far as sets and reps, there's no right or wrong. Keep going till you feel like you should feel it in your glute, like the glute is doing the work, and that you feel you've mastered the movement, okay? No need to start adding weight or progressing from here. It doesn't make any of those things bad, but for the purposes of improving mobility, this is as far as we would really need to go, all right? So guys, give these ones a shot at home. Let us know what you think. If there's any other exercises or mobility drills or series like this that you'd like to see, just leave questions or comments below, and we'll be sure to get them answered. Have a great day.